These tiny presents didn't change our distance, but I hoped they could have maintained a piece of the son I was still striving to be. 20 minutes later, the celebration started normally. Glasses clinking, grilled meat and baked potatoes in the house, and usual chats about real estate, stock prices, and kids' schools. I silently ate and listened at the corner of the table. I didn't join. I didn't need to. About 30 minutes after everyone had settled in, my dad stood up, hoisted his glass of wine and spoke in his booming voice, which he only used for big announcements. "Everyone please quiet down, we have something to share." The place went quiet immediately. He said, "Our family has come to a decision. Starting today, all the assets including the company, the shares, and the real estate will be handed over to Matteo." The room went silent. My heart slowed by half a beat. Like everyone expected, the clapping was loud, hurried, and enthusiastic, nearly on cue. My mom spoke next, her eyes beaming like she'd found her life's mission. "Matteo's been working at the family company for 5 years now, and he'll be the one to carry on the legacy, to take it to the next level." I sat staring at my water glass after their statement. I felt the glasses chill in my fingertips, but it didn't stop my chest pain. Waves of applause hit my chair like hammers. No one solicited my opinion. Nobody looked at me. No one asked, "What about Henry?" I was there but unnoticed. I was there, but they thought I was out of the story. Though I knew they liked Matteo, I didn't expect this. My younger brother Matteo is 2 years younger. We weren't inseparable as kids, but we never fought. Since my childhood was marked by justice, I thought our parents saw us as equals. Back then, everything was split. 2 birthday cakes, 2 identical candy bags, 2 virtually identical bikes with different colors. Our punishment was always the same when we got in trouble. No one got off easier. After we scribbled on the wall, Mom made us kneel and scrub every pencil mark. No partiality. I thought my family was fair till I was 18, sitting in the living room on an early September evening. Dad heard I wanted to study veterinary medicine. Veterinary doctor. I studied schools, chose one, and got a partial scholarship. I just needed some cash assistance to start. He might ask about my ambitions, give me advice, or just nod encouragement. Instead, he sat with arms crossed, gaze frigid, like I had said something shameful. "I'm not putting a single dime into that career. If that's what you want, you're on your own." I lost all hope of what family meant with that one sentence, simple but final. I didn't get it then. I didn't understand how a career choice could make me feel traitorous. It took years to understand that my choices didn't match their agenda. After that, I wasn't the family's pride. That job gradually fell to Matteo. Everything steadily changed after I told my dad I wanted to study veterinary medicine. Through peaceful, progressive detachment, not harsh words or disapproval, I became silent over time. Perhaps that was the price you paid for deviating from your plan. Even though we were growing apart, I never left them when they needed me. I still sent Mom Mother's Day roses. When Dad needed a new AC in summer, I helped. I kept coming when the company struggled. I never kept score, so maybe the betrayal hurt so much because it came from the one person I thought would never treat me like an outsider. My daddy. A year ago, he called late one night, his voice low and wavering, like he'd struggled with himself before calling. I'll never forget what he said. The company was in crisis that night. They needed $80,000 to prevent collapse after a significant contract fell through at the last minute. I suggested writing a formal statement to the family or documenting my firm contributions. But he stopped that immediately. He comforted me with one sentence. "When your mother and I are gone, you'll still have a share of the company. This is family business after all." At that point, I asked for nothing else. I wired $80,000 to the company account the next morning. My father's quiet comments after a long phone pause were the only contract. "When your mother and I are gone, you'll still have a share of the company. This is family business." And I nodded. He stressed family, which I foolishly thought. But now I think I should have requested a signed agreement. Maybe I should have known. Some individuals only value family when they're needed. At Easter last year, when my father announced that Matteo would inherit everything, I didn't stay quiet like I had so many times. My voice was clear and firm. "What about me?" The question rang out as the wine glasses hovered. Room plunged into awkward silence. Some individuals stared at me as if they realized I'd been there all along. I heard whispers across the room. That's right. What about Henry? He's Mateo's older brother. As tension grew like a fog, my mother intervened with her usual kind manner, trying to make something cruel appear acceptable. Henry, you already have a career, a house, a car. But Mateo, he has nothing. After she finished, I looked her in the eyes. I spoke softly, yet each syllable hit hard like stones. That career. I built it with my own hands. I left home at 18 and figured everything out on my own. I didn't take a single cent from you or Dad. I earned a scholarship, worked through school, and saved every dollar. Meanwhile, you paid for all of Mateo's tuition and covered all his expenses. And now, you hand everything over to him like I never existed. I'm your son too. Before anyone could answer, Mateo spoke smugly. Mom's right. You shouldn't be competing with me. I spun and pointed at him. Shut your mouth. You don't even have the right to speak. Silence filled the room. Then my dad smashed his hand on the table, his voice shrill and each word a slap. That's enough, Henry. Mateo followed the path we laid out. You didn't. If you hadn't chosen those filthy animals, this company would have been yours. I froze. Then I replied, what the hell are you talking about? That's an insult. Do you even realize that it was thanks to those so-called filthy animals that I made the $80,000 that saved your company? And if you look down on my job that much, pay me back. Right now. After I said it, he stood up, red-faced, eyes flashing, and yelled, I'm not giving you a damn cent. I brought you into this world, raised you, fed you, educated you. Do you know how much I spent on you? And now you're out there cleaning up after dogs and cats. You're an embarrassment. The moment he completed that phrase, I was done. I spoke again after nearly 30 seconds, trying to keep my voice steady. If that's how you feel, then we have nothing to do with each other from now on. Don't come looking for me again. I turned away but stopped to say goodbye, not to apologize. Dad, I never asked to be born, so please don't throw your so-called sacrifices in my face to guilt me into following your path. And don't use them as leverage to force me into carrying the weight of this family. After that, I left with my head held high and never looked back. That night I returned to my place before 9. I immediately went to the bathroom. I blast-started the water. It was necessary to wipe away the hatred, injustice, and hurt from that evening. Nearly 20 minutes passed before I left. I felt lighter, and my mind less weighty, but that calm emptiness stayed. I brewed a steaming black coffee to stay awake. As I sat calmly by the window that night, I thought about the day I turned 18 and left home with only an old suitcase, a few pieces of clothing, and the money I'd saved. Despite working part-time, I struggled to afford living expenditures. My parents never asked if I was okay over those years. My first 2 years following graduating were spent in a modest studio apartment. I cut cuts every month to pay school loans. Then something unexpected happened in my 3rd year. A peaceful Sunday afternoon. I had no plans or shifts that day. I had a funny idea. Why not make a pet care video? So I did. I used books and shoeboxes as a tripod, propped up my phone, and spoke like a friend. After finishing, I submitted the video on Facebook and YouTube. I did it for pleasure without expectations. If someone found it, great. If not, no problem. Within 2 days it became viral. Within 48 hours, platforms had nearly 3 million views. I was stunned. I refreshed the page, believing it was a glitch. When the comments and messages started coming in, I realized people needed what I had to say. I made additional vids. My initial thought was to impart knowledge. I got my first $2,000 from ads and sponsorships a month later. I stared at that number on my screen for a long time, surprised, anxious, and wondering if I was dreaming. But the number grew. 9 months later, I had 1 million YouTube subscribers. I had over 2 million followers across all platforms in just 1 year. Then pet care brands reached out. They wanted to collaborate, sponsor videos, and offer me goods to review. I understood this wasn't a hobby anymore. It was something more. Finally, with crowd support, I opened my own pet care store. I named the company Whisker and Paw because I wanted to share kindness and love, something my family never gave me as a child. First location was more successful than expected. Perhaps it was because of the community that had backed me since my earliest films. Or because people could sense my sincerity in treating all customers, two-legged and four-legged. After a few months I had to employ more workers, extend hours, and hunt for a second location. The second branch opened a year later. 4 years later, Whisker and Paw had 7 outlets in the city's boroughs, and over 30 full-time and part-time staff. Several have been with me since the beginning. Few months ago, few joined. But everyone is part of my handmade family. I never gloat about my success, especially to my family and relatives. That lesson came from an industry mentor who gave me advice when I was nobody. He mentioned something I still remember. Never flaunt your success. Not even to your parents. Back then I didn't understand. I thought, why not tell your family? Shouldn't they know your positive deeds first? But as I aged, I understood more. Everyone has envy, some more than others. Sharing your achievement doesn't merely garner admiration. An open wallet, they think. You'll be asked to lend money, offer business ideas, or help out since we're family. When you decline, admiration becomes resentment. Resentment. So I kept quiet. I returned home for the holidays. I still brought pastries, gifts, and maybe a beautiful bottle of wine or a thoughtful gift for Mom. However, I never mentioned money, staff, or new projects. They saw me as Henry, the pet sitter. Personally, I preferred it that way. About 6 months after Easter dinner, I didn't text, call, or go home. My parents, Charles and Margaret Walker, were silent too. 0 check-in texts, no unexpected calls. It felt like my disappearance was planned. I wasn't sad. In those early days, waking up without checking for Mom's message was like a weight lifted. Every night I could sit alone in my quiet apartment, drink late-night coffee, and work without being pulled back into that vague sense of family responsibility. First time in years I could name the feeling. Freedom. However, 6 months ago, my phone rang as I was pouring a second cup of coffee on a Saturday morning. It was Dad. His name appeared on the screen and I froze in the kitchen. I held the half-full coffee cup with my thumb over the decline button, but I didn't touch it. I briefly considered the possibility that they'd altered. Imagine a call to apologize. I don't know why I believed that. Maybe I still wanted to believe they'd thought about everything after that night. Maybe I still had a tiny bit of hope. A few rings later, I replied. My father's voice was immediate. No small talk or hesitation. He adds, Henry, the company's in serious trouble. Mateo signed the wrong contract. Now we're looking at $120,000 in damages. Can you help us? For the family's reputation, for the Walker name. Without thinking, I said, 80,000 was more than enough, Dad. If you want my help, start by paying that back. The other end is silent. He looked furious or disappointed, but I didn't care. I said, before he could respond, and if the only thing you're trying to save is the family name, let me remind you, that name never once stood up for me. I let them figure out the $120,000 mess after hanging up. After rejecting my father on the phone the day before, I figured they'd leave me alone. I misjudged them. Next morning, my doorbell rang loudly, rapidly, and insistently past 7 a.m. No courtesy or hesitation. Pushy, demanding. Like someone was forcing me out. I hesitated when I opened the door. Mateo and my parents stood there. I didn't invite them. I fully blocked the entrance at the threshold, signaling this is no longer our shared place. I knew why they were there, so I said it clearly, but calmly. If you're here for $120,000, turn around. I'm not helping. My words resonated clearly along the quiet hallway despite my low voice. After I finished, my mom retreated. Something else made her eyes crimson, not tears. Maybe stress. Maybe disappointment. Maybe rage. With nowhere to go, she spoke next, attempting to sound gentle but tight. Henry, you have a whole chain of pet care stores. $120,000 isn't that much to you. I'm begging you. If you don't help, the company will collapse. Our family will lose everything. Mateo moved half step forward. My eyes were ignored. I'd never heard his voice so quiet. Henry, please, just this once. I know I messed up. I know I ruined everything. I remained silent. I let them speak. Didn't interrupt. My head didn't tremble. I stared at them, grasping the doorframe like my boundaries would come apart if I let go. After some pause, I replied slowly and clearly, "Leave, before I call the police." My father's face hardened instantaneously. My mother opened her mouth to say more, but I stopped her. I repeated it louder to avoid confusion. "I have nothing to do with any of you anymore. You all have to live with the consequences of your choices. Your favoritism, your silence. Matteo too. If the company collapses, that's not a tragedy. It's a consequence, and I'm not responsible for saving anyone." I closed the door. Firm, final. I returned to my cold coffee when they were gone. My mind was already going in another direction. My mind whispered a question that stopped me mid-sip. How did they know I have 7 stores? Never told. I never mentioned it. Always kept my distance. Even at rare family meetings before everything fell apart, I never mentioned my business size or earnings. They didn't follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Then I realized, YouTube. One thing I couldn't hide. I still post pet care videos here. Gentle, meaningful clips about my profession and animal love. Someone they knew may have sent them a link. Maybe they found it themselves. That sent a shudder down my spine. Not because I feared discovery. I knew what they became when they sensed an opportunity to exploit. I acted immediately. I unlocked my phone's message screen and typed each phrase clearly. The sentences were like door knocks. "If you, Mom, or Matteo take any action that damages my reputation or business, I will sue. I'm serious." After sending, I prayed they wouldn't cross the border. Matteo kept going despite my clear warning. Next day he posted on Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram. After not reading it right away, friends sent it to me. I was questioned by firm employees and the media. I didn't need to read every word to understand his writing. His post stated that I abandoned my family when they were near bankruptcy, and that I ignored my parents' requests for aid. He stated I expelled them like strangers from my house. Of course, he noted that I had mistreated my flesh and blood before. The plot was so twisted that I couldn't tell what was real. People don't care about the truth.